All right, Mr. Hamid, we are live. Are you ready to kick this thing off?
I'm ready, sir. Born ready.
Let's do it.
All right.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. KTTV.
What to do, KTTV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of Education Unleashed. And on tonight's episode, I have, and we got this straight, servant leader.
There you go.
Mr. Tariq Hamid. How you doing tonight, Mr. Tariq?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. I'm absolutely happy to be here with you, and I look forward to work with you in the future and having a good time tonight.
Look, man, I appreciate you for taking some time out. I tell people each week, one of the non-replenishable resources we have is our time. And so therefore, when somebody does dedicate that and commit that, I do appreciate that, man. So thank you for taking that time out tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. So now before we jump into things, I want to kind of give us a little update for the audience tonight. So we are going to go through the show. Please remember, we always got our rapid fire. We always got our parent-teacher corner. So tonight we'll talk about the love of reading inside of that parent-teacher corner. And we also will have some interesting questions because tonight is all about reviving servant leadership. So we'll have some good questions from Mr. Hamid. And if you've been to any meeting in A-Leaf ISD over the past, how many years? 30 years, Mr. Hamid?
30 years, yeah.
30 years. If you've been to any of those meetings, he probably was there speaking or doing something in there if he wasn't leading it. So get ready for a good night tonight. And let's have some fun, man. Welcome once again to the show, man. All right, so what I like to do first is jump into a little bit of the news for the week. And so our news story comes from the Texas Tribune, shout out. So it says Texas high school principal is cleared of child abuse and charges after paddling a student. You know, in our world, especially speaking to you, Mr. Hamid, you know, that is far-fetched for us in the Leaf. But down in, I want to say Rusk, they said Overton High School, which sits in a town of about 2,300 people, is one of 8,758 Texas high schools that used corporal punishment during the 17-18 school year. So let the record show this is 17-18 still going. Overton ISD allows students to choose between paddling or in-school suspension. Wow. In this case, the student chose paddling, and the student's parent and another female witness remained in the room. After receiving 2 hits, the student said she was hurt and didn't want the third, the affidavit states. But both Hogg and the student's mother encouraged the student to complete the punishment. The student decided to follow through and receive the 3rd hit. So now we've seen that part, but here we go. A forensic pediatrician evaluated photographs of the child injuries and said they were consistent with abuse.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So now that's what happened. They said we prosecuting what's going on. We believe from the beginning that not prosecuting was the only appropriate result. So they got ready to put him on the ringer, Mr. Hamid. Years go by. We are now in 2023. This story just came out this week, and they decided not to prosecute this person. Coming from your expertise, what do you say about that?
Number one, we should refrain from putting our hands on anyone. When you start using abuse and physical activity to try to modify behaviors, that always backfires. So our philosophy is, and my personal philosophy is that spankings don't work, beatings don't work. You got to change that person's heart. You can't change their heart by spanking them behind. It doesn't work.
Look, I wish somebody was there to tell my mama that a few years ago when I was coming up, because some kind of way. She thought it worked. I would say, yeah, no, it
My
didn't work.
question is, did this spanking happen in front of students or was it behind closed doors? Do you know?
So, yeah, this was inside of the principal's office. So it was only the mom and another witness in the room.
I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and we had corporal punishment. And I remember as a young boy going to school, I was bused to school, and we had corporal punishment. We get off the bus. If your hands had snow on them, they're going to spank your hands. They make you sit in the corner with a dunce hat. And I sat many a time in the corner in front of the class, publicly humiliated with a dunce hat. All I can say is those types of punishment, they do not work.
Most definitely.
It destroys, it tears us down. And we're all supposed to be in the business to build children up. That does not build children up.
Most definitely. Not at all. And so the reason he got off, they said that he acted within the corporal punishment. I mean, and we know that, right? Look, he had witnesses the entire situation. So, all right. Let me see here. When you say that's down the road from where I stay in East Texas. Not surprised. All right, Miss Fania, we sure appreciate that. All right. So now that's our news for the week. Thank you for weighing in on that. I tried to find one that was appropriate for your expertise, Mr. Hamid, so you can drop some knowledge on us. What we'll do is we'll take a quick break. Then when I come back, we will jump into a little bit of this reviving servant leadership. Mr. Tariq Hamid. Y'all stay tuned.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Education Unleashed Talk Show with Mr. Tariq Hamid. Just for good mentions. A-Leaf is in the building. Mr. Hamid, once again, man, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Absolutely wonderful. But as I told you earlier, when I come home, if I'm not exhausted, I have not done my job. So with that being said, I am exhausted. When I go to work, and actually it's not even work. When I go to perform, when I go to serve, when I go to my place of revival for people that come into my office, I make it a point when I wake up every morning, every single morning, what am I going to do to impact positively and change the lives of other individuals that I have been entrusted to serve? So I'm tired, but I'm here.
Hey, once again, I appreciate you, brother. So now this is the question. As we always jump into our interviews, I like to do a wellness check, right? Just to check in, because we know it was crazy before 2020, but since 2020, we've been on the catch up, the back end of the slide. So how have you been doing, brother? And as a family man, how are you balancing the performing at work and then coming home and still being you for the family?
So it's a delicate balancing act. And I'm fortunate enough to actually have two families. I have a family here in my physical space here. And my children look at me now like, what? You got two families? You ain't tell us about that. They're looking at me crazy now. But I have a work family. And my work family gives me energy when I get there. So it's a beautiful thing to have a family here. You leave one family and you go to serve with another family. And when everyone in that family is of the same mindset, a servant mentality, it is beautiful. It's not even like work. It's not like work. It's like you go to some place and everyone's on the same page. We are all working for the common goal. We are on the front line. Every one of us that's over there, for the most part, has an office that we can be in. We choose not to be in our offices. We want to be on the front line because we realize that we are the face of that particular building. Years ago, when I started there, you know, the complexion of that particular place has changed tremendously. And we want everyone, when they come into our office, you want to see people from every single culture that are there. They're empowered to help and assist. And that's what we do. But so when I come home, like I said, I'm exhausted. I got to, you know, all the way from 6 years old, all the way to 17 years old. They all have different needs. And so I'm trying to meet their needs as well as meet the needs of the people that I serve. So it's a hard job, you know, but The Creator has said, I shall bear no soul beyond its capacity. So he knows me better than I know me. When I feel tired, for some reason, I get an extra jolt of energy. I'm like, where did I get that from?
Yeah.
That's from upstairs.
Come on, man.
That's where I got
Right
it.
in your
Right?
That's it, brother. That's it, man. And so as we jump into tonight, talking about reviving that servant leadership, building those bonds, creating those relationships. One of our main things innately is meaningful relationships equal meaningful work, right? And so I wanted to just kind of put that in the context tonight. And then I want to ask you, when you think about wanting to do a topic like tonight, what or how has the educational system lost that focus, or what caused you think that focus on building those strong relationships and their rapport with parents and the community it serves?
So yeah, I thought about that, and as you say those words to me, they ring in my heart. And what I realize is that this educational system, the system that we have adopted, was not built by us, was not built for us, and it was not designed to build relationships or to build rapport with the people that we serve. Years ago, on the East Coast, I went to school in Philadelphia. This was back in the 60s and 70s. I was a child of busing. They bused me for maybe, my bus ride was about an hour 40 minutes. But I had that proverbial 5-mile walk in the snow uphill to get to the bus. So when I finally got to the bus, mind you, the bus was in horrible condition. It was cold. We had to drive past schools, 3 schools to get to the school they bused me to. And once I got there, I was greeted with anger and hostility. And this is around the time this movie called Planet of the Apes first came out. And I remember at that day, I had this little tan leather jacket on. I had a big afro, if you guys can believe that. I had a huge afro. That was the style back in the day. And I went to school and I heard someone say, look, there goes Planet of the Apes. That's the light-skinned Planet of the Apes. I was probably 2nd grade. And I remember going there looking for a friendly face, looking for someone that would help me in my time of need. That didn't happen. There was a teacher, her name was Miss Zuchman. And Miss Zuchman, I ran to her. I said, Miss Zuchman, you got to help me. Miss Zuchman, she said, what's going on, baby? I said, they keep calling me Planet of the Apes. And they say I look like a monkey. She looked at me and she said, and I thought the words that were going to come out of her mouth were going to be something comforting. She looked at me and she said, well, baby, you do look like a monkey. And so when I heard that, when those words came out of her mouth, I went in my 2-year-old mind thinking, or my 2nd grade mind thinking, well, maybe I am a monkey. So I went home and I told my mom. Mm-hmm. And my mom became intoxicated, not drunk with alcohol. She became passionately and emotionally intoxicated. And when I saw that, and she went to the school, she drugged me back to the school. I'm going to find that teacher. I want to find that principal. She was there looking for assistance, but there was no help for us because there was no rapport built, because that system was not designed to build us up. They didn't want me there from the first place. So what we got to realize is that the system that we have adopted, and yes, it is, we've made some modifications. Things have gotten better, but the foundation of this system is not designed to build rapport, to build people up. It's not designed for that. So what we've got to do is we've got to change the system. And it starts from the foundation, and it's person by person and bit by bit. And our actions are paramount in how we do that, how we interact with people, how we treat people. These are all little building blocks, little bricks in the system that help us change this fundamentally flawed system that was thrown upon us. Educational system should be like tailored clothing. I don't have enough money to wear tailored clothing, but from what I'm told is when you get something tailor-made for you, there's nothing that feels better. The closest thing I have to something being tailored are these glasses that I have on my face. went to the store, they checked my eyes, they want to make sure, or the optometrist, they want to make sure these fit me and just me. And that's what we have to do in education. But the big part of that is building relationships. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes, sir. And so with that, thinking about people who may fall under that bridge and says, I want to build that strength up with my community. I know a few friends who are new principals this year. What strategies or activities or anything that you know of that, let's say, is almost our low-hanging fruit where we could begin to build those strategies and start building that rapport that you spoke of?
The simplest thing to do, and it's easy, but it's hard, is to listen. You've got to listen. It takes time. And as you mentioned earlier in the segment, time is a resource that many people, and we all have a limited amount of it. But when you give someone your time, that tells them you're giving me the most valuable thing you have in the world, because every 2 weeks we get replenished with our money, but you never get time replenished. So when you sit down with someone and you say to them, come into my space so that I can hear you, and you don't hold court in front of everyone that's out there, because a parent may come to the office, they want to be heard. You don't do that in front of everyone. You bring them into a personal space and you say, let me listen to you. How can I help you? But you've got to be genuine. You've got to really care about that, because a lot of times the people that we serve, they know fake stuff. Years ago, there was a saying, people would say, fake it till you make it. I remember coming into the educational profession, and I would hear that a lot by peers that I would have and sit in the cafeteria. Man, you got to fake it till you make it. And I thought to myself, that's not how you got to do it. You cannot fake compassion. You cannot fake wanting to assist someone. These things come from the heart. Education itself is something, I call it it's a work of heart. And you cannot just make this stuff up. You got to truly want to do it. It's a calling. A long time ago, people would say the priesthood is a calling. But if you look at every single religious leader in the world, whether it be Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, Moses, or whoever, and the list goes on, they were all teachers. Every last one of them. And the number one lesson they taught is compassion. And I think in education, we've lost that, because the system that we have was not designed to teach us or show us that. So we got to work on that. Compassion, listening. That's the key.
So that brings me to the CDR though.
Okay.
So now when we get to that, and we're thinking about ways to build that in the context of education, courtesy, dignity, and respect. What does that mean for our students, parents, and educators?
So there's, growing up as a younger man, I worked at many places as a lifeguard, worked in Virginia Beach. I was a lifeguard at Virginia Beach, Temple University. My son right now, 17-year-old, he's a lifeguard. And one of the first classes they make you take is CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And what that deals with is the heart and the blood that flows through the body. So what I said to myself is, CPR, we need CDR. That deals with the heart and the blood and everything that runs through our bodies. You have to treat everyone, every single person, regardless of their walk of life, when they come in front of you, with courtesy. And what does courtesy mean? Making eye contact with someone, acknowledging them, saying, hey, welcome to my campus. Man, I'm so glad you're here. Even if you're not, you've got to find a reason for them to feel welcome. You got to make them feel welcome, and you've got to be genuine about it. You've got to be courteous. You have to treat them with dignity. Dignity means that when they leave your presence, they feel better when they leave than when they came before you. They feel as though they are respected. And that's the last one, the respect piece. Respect means a lot of things to people, but it doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. A sign of respect, number one sign of respect is what I call listening. We've got to learn to listen. I'm sure that we have all interacted with people, you talk to them, and before you even finish your words, yeah, that's not active listening. You got to listen. Well, a lot of us get caught up in when a parent comes in to the office, they come to the building, we want to show them how bad their children are. We want to get the last word in. Those parents are fighting for their children. They're fighting for the best children that they have. And all we can think about is, I'm going to drop this bomb on him. If he's so good, then how come he got 5 marijuana joints in? That's not what they're there for. And you can fix that. You can address that, but we're not going to get in a power struggle with people. That's you lost respect once you do that. The second we get into a power struggle with any individual, whether it's a parent, a student, a coworker, you've already lost. That CDR is out the window. So we've got to treat everyone once again with courtesy, dignity, and respect, because we all deserve it.
Yeah. And as a leader, one of the skills, and I think about being a structure teacher for so many years, adaptive behavior teacher, whether it was in high school, all these pieces. But I always knew that I had to deposit, right? And so, like you say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you can care. Oh, Rita Peterson. What'd you say? Kids don't learn from people they don't like.
That's
so
right.
As you look at that leadership, and that's been your MO just going through all these years, man, talk to me about some of the things. Well, first explain to me what depositing in the bank means to you, and then give me some examples of how you did that as a servant leader over the years.
Okay, so anyone who deposits anything, as a child, you may remember collecting coins for a goal that you have established. Whatever that goal was, whether it was to be able to buy that shiny red bicycle in the window from Firestone. Back in the day, Firestone used to sell bikes. That's where I got my first bike from, selling newspapers, putting my quarters in a little jar, trying to save till I got this bicycle. What you really have to realize and understand about saving and depositing is it's bit by bit, and it builds up. The sand dunes that we see on the beach, they weren't deposited overnight. They were built grain by grain, year by year. But the thing is, anything that you build bit by bit like that is very fragile. It's extremely fragile, and it can be destroyed. So you got to keep replenishing it. And you do that through your actions. You do that from the second you step foot in the building, when you get out of your car, the way you walk, the way you respond to people. If you see a custodian and they got 3 trash cans and they're pushing 3 trash cans, you got a backpack on your back and you walk past and you say to that custodian, hey, good morning, how you doing? You keep walking. You're not making any deposits. Take one of those trash cans, push that trash can, walk with that trash can, talk to the custodian. How's your child doing? How's things going? Get to know people, have positive interactions, shop where they shop. It's the most powerful thing you can do. I remember working at Hastings High School as a teacher. I taught physics, chemistry, biology, and earth science. And I made it a point to shop where they shopped. When I first moved here, I moved to a place called Spice Lane. And when I moved to Spice Lane, I had no idea. Coming from the East Coast, oh, it was beautiful. Had a swimming pool, had all these amenities. And I just thought, that place is gorgeous. I called back to Philly and I said, man, you guys not going to believe this place is gorgeous. My first day of work, there was a dead body behind my car. So I had to call and say, I'm going to be late today. I'm going to be late. What's going on? I looked out the window, looked over my little wall that I had. I lived in a place called the Claridge, right on Spice Lane. And I said, can you move that body so I can get to work? That was insensitive. So I saw the family. I saw the family outside. And I said to myself, oh, wait a minute. So I called my boss. I told him I wasn't going to make it in. And I sat with these people and I prayed with these people. To this day, those family has not forgotten that. That's about building and putting things inside your bank, your, for lack of a better word, your spiritual bank. And when that's full, and when it starts to get full, people see that. They say, oh, wow, that's a rich man, not rich financially, but rich in relationships. At any given time, someone will come to this my office, or the office that I serve in, just to sit down and talk. A lady came in today. She said, Mr. Hamid, some bad stuff has happened. It had nothing to do with her current situation. She just wanted to vent. She just wanted to talk. I have the luxury of time, by the grace of God. I have the luxury of time. She sat there, took about 45 minutes of my time. She stood up and hugged and she said, Mr. Hamid, I just want to thank you for listening to me and being there for my family. So what I say is the deposits that I make are those just listening and caring. And you do it bit by bit, every action that you take. If you see someone, they're got a leg broken, their child is sick, go to the house and visit. Knock on a door. If you got a district employee and their kid is sick and in the hospital, we should be the first ones there at the hospital with some type of, support package. I know your mother's sick. I know you're having a hard time at work, but I want you to know something. We are here for you. And when you do stuff like that and it comes from the heart, man, you're doing God's work. Yeah. You're doing God's work, and that's what we need to do. Any builder that you see, I don't care who it is, whether they build construction, they build swimming pools, they build houses, and artists, whether they build cars, any builder you see, if you touch their hands are rough. Their hands are hard because building is hard. And most of us shy away from hard work. And one of the hardest things that we're going to do in this profession is build relationships. And most people don't want to be bothered by that. And you're one of those people when you say, man, no one came to see me today. No one came to me to complain, because they know you're not going to do anything about it. When I first started working where I am now years ago, this guy would say to me, he said, Tariq. I said, yeah. How come everyone's coming to see you and not coming to see me? I said, well, I don't know. I don't know why that is. But in my heart, I knew why that was, because these people had set up a system that was designed to not have that interaction, to keep people away from them. And if you're in education, it is messy. You've got to be in the business. You've got to pull your sleeves up. You've got to go in there and work. And you got to put in the work. And you put in the work when you go home and your mind is tired and you're thinking about all the things you did that day, try to serve people. You did your job and you did your job well. So those are some things that I would think to put for deposits in our rapport bank.
Most definitely. And after 33 years of doing this in the game, is there one story that man, because you just dropped one really with the car. That was a real story right there, just depositing, man. But was it something that really happened to you, I guess, inside of your leadership that made you want to say, you know what, this is I got to kind of get on a crusade about this, or we got to turn this around? Was there any experience or anecdote that made you just flip the switch, or you just kind of bringing that thing back after so many years?
I think one of the things that impacted me most was just going to so many funerals of young Hispanic boys, young African-American boys, and noticing one funeral I went to was so sad. Went to the funeral, and the only people that showed up at that funeral were me and my family. Not another person was there. The mother was there. She's crying for her baby, and no one was there to speak on his behalf. And that goes back to building bonds. Now, the guy, he was challenging. He was extremely challenging. And so was the mother. Extremely challenging. But those who you feel deserve education least are the ones who need it the most. So I felt as though I needed to be there. I needed to be there and build relationships with this family. She no longer has children in the district, but you know what? She still calls me. She still directs people my way to assist her and or whoever it is in the community. So that would be one of the things that really hit me in my heart as far as having to change my ways and try to develop that rapport, building rapport. That would be the one that I could think of, that particular situation.
Man, I've been to a few funerals, like I said, just been doing this for so long myself. And when you think about that, I think the last funeral, I was there, Ms. Lewis was there, um, being able to kind of share with their family, but it's important that we continue to build those relationships and build those bonds and show up like that as well, because like you say, till this day, the boy is gone, but the mom still reaches out periodically just to check in, just to say thank you, especially around his birthday.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I still have the program up inside of my office as we speak. Um,
And
and I guess that just leads.
let me
Uh-huh.
add something else. You mentioned a very good point. One of the things that you also have to keep in mind is we've got to show people. It's one thing to say that you have built relationships, but building relationships and is about love, and love is an action word. And when you have those things in your office and they're on the wall and the parents come in and they see, and the kids come and see, and they start whispering, "Oh, look, that's from such and such." That's evidence-based material or data for them that you truly care. I was there. Remember being a young boy going to a concert somewhere, first concert, you come back, you got the ticket, you put the ticket up on the wall, you got the poster on the wall. When you see that, everyone knows who you are based upon the space that you're sitting in. So when our parents come there and they see those things, pictures of their kids, awards of their kids that they won, and they're in your office, things like that, those are ways to add to that bank as well, and to show that we're building rapport with the family. So that's a very powerful thing to have that up in your office.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I had family engagement, right?
Mhm.
Director Terry. I had Chancellor on a few weeks ago. We were going through Greek Week. We did a podcast kind of talking about the Greek Week, playing some videos. And one thing we said when it came to family engagement was nobody in class took nobody in college took a class on how to deal with families, right? Nobody, difficult families, building relationships. So thinking about that and thinking about being able to change and put things in place, what role can mentorship and professional development play in fostering better relationships and rapport in our community?
So let me say this. Years ago, and I keep saying years ago, I'm an old man. And so years ago, I bought some land way out in Rosharon. And people were asking me, "Man, what in the world are you doing? You from the city? You live in the city? You buying land out in the country?" So yeah, I bought some land out in the country, had a little house on it. Years later, my mother-in-law came to stay with us, and we built a chicken coop for her. We built this chicken coop, and she loves chickens. You hear me? She has over 300 chickens. I come home from work, and all my acreage is filled with chickens, just running around eating, eating, eating. So one day we had a storm. And during this storm, winds were blowing hard, man. They were blowing hard, blowing the tree limbs down. I came out the next morning, and I look inside the chicken coop, and there's this little black bird just sitting there. He's wet. He has a beak shaped differently than a chicken beak. His claws are shaped different than chicken claws. I know it's not a chicken. I called my kids. I said, "Come here, you gotta come outside and see this. It's a bird in there." They said, "Nah." They said, "No, Buffalo." They call me Buffalo. Buffalo, that's a chicken. So my mother-in-law lets all the chickens out. All the chickens run, and they're looking like, "Damn." I'm just imagining them saying, "Damn, what's that?"
Yeah.
So weeks pass, and this bird is starting to adapt to what chickens do, or at least he's trying to adapt to what chickens do. He's trying to eat like chickens. He's trying to run like the chickens. He's trying to scratch the ground like chickens, but he can't. He can't because number one, he's not a chicken, but he don't know that, and all the chickens don't know that. They know something's different about him. So he starts to get sick because he cannot eat what the chickens eat. He can't do what chickens do. And so I said, "I'm gonna give this guy some meat." I start feeding him some meat. This thing starts to get strong. His chest starts to puff up. And then all of a sudden, on a nice day, it's about 80 degrees outside, no clouds, this huge bird flies overhead, and you hear him. He's screaming out. And this bird throws his wings out. All the chickens run back to the coop. This bird don't even move the wings. It just starts to, it catches the thermal current and it soars and it goes up in the air and it goes up to where that other bird is. That's what a mentor is. A mentor is sent to save someone, to show someone this is who you are. You are not a chicken. You are meant to soar. And so as mentors, they are instrumental in showing people the way. But the key is you got to have a good mentor, because a bad mentor, and a lot of times in education, we get caught up in a lot of politics. The people you think are your mentors, you think are here to help you, they may not be. So you got to make sure that you connect yourself with a good mentor. A good mentor is one that has been doing that their whole life, not for pay, but through their actions. You watch them, you know who the good mentors are, because everyone gravitates towards them. Mentorship and professional development, learning how to do things, showing people the right way to do things, and do it with humility. If someone makes a mistake, hey man, you made a mistake, let's work on it over here and show them what the right way is. So back to that bird. Once that bird left this property, I never saw him again, ever. But I always imagined this bird has a story to tell. One day I used to be a chicken, but until I was shown by you that I was a hawk, because that's what it was. It was a big black chicken hawk that landed in that chicken coop. So yes, we do need mentors. Mentors are valuable.
Most definitely they're valuable. Like you say, but it got to be a good one.
It got to be a good one. And in my life, I've had a few. I'm not going to name them all, but you know what the ironic thing is? Most of the best mentors I've ever had in my life have been ladies. And I remember in Virginia, when I was in Virginia, there was a lady. Her name was Dorothy Valentine Valencia, my first mentor in education. Then it was Dr. Gracie Harmon Sanders, and she was in Portsmouth, Virginia. Then after that, I wound up coming here to Texas, and the mentors just lined up, and they were there for me. One in particular, once I got to Hastings, it was a guy named David Holmquist. He was an instrumental mentor for me. And then there was Paula Conley, Manette Schaller, Joyce Eddings, and the list goes on and on and on. And one thing all of those mentors had in common is that they truly had my best interest at heart. Almost like a parent that has a child. You want your child to do better than you have done in your life. And I sensed that from them. It wasn't like, oh, I can't let them outshine me. You know, because you get in some situations where they become jealous. They think, oh, he's going to try to outdo me. It's not about that. So that great mentor that you find has got to have the feeling inside of them that I want him to do better than me. And not that you're trying to set something up in the future. I'm going to put this person here, put that person there. Not about that. It's about developing those individuals. And you know what I noticed? The best leaders in the world are those individuals that grow leaders. And you can tell if you're a good leader because you look back in your past and you say to yourself, wow, look, I used to be a principal. Now they're a principal. Now they're a superintendent. Now they're doing this. And that shows that you were a great mentor because you've grown some beautiful fruit. I always tell people, you can't hate the root and love the fruit. You've got to develop the fruit.
Well, thank you. You can't hate the root and love the fruit.
You can't.
Come on, baby. Come on now. So now when we think about as we get ready to land this plane, I want to talk one about educators and parents working together. And then I want to kind of take that same question out to the educational institution as a whole. But for the first part, how can parents and educators work together to create a more respectful and collaborative educational environment?
The key, once again, is listening. And believe it or not, the parents that I interact with, most of them are aware of the challenging environment that we as educators face. They're sympathetic to that. The fall or the miss on that is when they come into our space, they don't feel as though they're being listened to. So what we've got to focus on, once again, it goes back to listening. We've got to listen to each other respectfully. We have a code of civility, and a code of civility just gives some guidelines for us to conduct ourselves in. A lot of the parents come from different walks of life than many of us, and they do not abide by the same code of civility that we abide by. So what we've got to do is we've got to model that before they come in, and when they get into the office. Our number one objective is to make sure that they are comfortable, because if you find someone who is uncomfortable, they're unwilling to speak and they're unwilling to listen. So we've got to make sure that we get them to a spot where they feel comfortable. I'm not talking necessarily physically comfortable, but emotionally comfortable. And every last one of us has senses. And when you walk into a room, if a husband and wife have been fighting or arguing, it feels like, ooh, we don't feel good in here. They feel the same thing when they come into our space. And if you're already negative and you're always acting like you don't want to listen, and your body language is such where your arms are crossed, and as soon as they walk in the door, your head's going like this, and it's unconscious. You don't do it consciously. You just toss your head like that, and they see that. So the key is we have got to listen when they come in, and then respectfully speak with them, not at them. We've got to talk so that we understand one another, and talk from terms in a position of compassion and love and understanding. Those are the keys. That is the only way for us to develop that collaborative educational environment. They've got to know that if they give a suggestion, we're going to listen. It may not be a good suggestion. We have got to invite them to more committees. Most of the committees where laws and rules are made for education, they're all made by educators, by people that, have been in the profession for years. We don't include parents. And a lot of times we don't include parents because we think they're going to give us a hard time. Some of your best parents to give you the best information are some of your most difficult parents. Welcome them. The ones that argue and debate say, you know what, you'd be really good for that committee. Why don't you come on over and tell us what you think about such and such a thing? And they were more than willing to do that. Hopefully they come and they have wonderful ideas. All of us have got to be willing to accept ideas that people have and utilize them if we can properly utilize them.
Yeah, most definitely. I got the director here and say this is such a great interview of relationships and mentorship. Thank you. Yeah, Director Robinson. I sure appreciate that. All right, Mindy. Man, look, when you think about mentorship, we was together 1 year at ALC. And when I tell you, I grew in that year, because I have the same principle since 2013 all the way to 22. And so that was the root, right? When you think about going back and looking back at what happened and the people that you leave behind, you right? Or either as she turns back and look at the people she's grown. And so being able to springboard from there over into with Mindy, my God, it was real, right? Just seeing how she was able to pick it up from where we started and not necessarily just growing me as an assistant principal, but more as a principal, as a leader, as a bigger thinker, right? Of so many facets. So big shouts out to Ms. Robinson. What she say, nice to see two powerful educators. Awesome insight, Dr. Thomas and Mr. Hamid. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Director. I appreciate that.
Let me say, I don't know what the time is like, but let me say this. You know that you are with someone who's a great mentor when they not only care about your professional development, they care about your spiritual development, your mental development, they care about your well-being, and you know that you care about them when you start talking about deep stuff. Those are the best mentors. The mentors that we've been assigned from school sometimes, oh, go talk to Professor Hopkins, go talk to such and such a person. That's a shallow relationship. So the best mentors have the deepest relationships with us, and they help us build and grow ourselves. We need to get back into that as a society, as a culture, no matter what minority group you're in. If you look back at the history of our culture, the leaders were our mentors. We sat around in circles and we talked. We don't talk anymore. We text. We send little emojis. We don't communicate. We shout at each other. Everyone's hustling, trying to get to where they got to go. We've got to get back to the basic, building relationships. Many times our children, when people come into my office, 99% of the boys that come into my office do not have a father in their life. 99%. And what you have is boys being raised by grandmothers. And yes, they can do a great job, but there's nothing. A hyena cannot show a lion how to be a lion. You understand what I'm saying? So the mentors are so vital in our world. Every campus that exists should have a strong mentorship program that will flip things in the lives of children, help children to read, make children want to come to school. Those are all things that mentors do. And all these things that we say don't cost much money. Love don't cost a thing. It's about willing to invest in the future of our children.
Most definitely, man. I appreciate this conversation. It sounds like we may need a part 2 of this doing stuff, man. So we may have to have you back on here next season so we can get this going. Because I want to get to our segments, but I also want to keep that conversation going. So what Ms. Fanger said, this is so true. What she said, preach already. All right. So what we'll do, Mr. Hamid, before we get ready to close it out, let's take a quick break. Okay. Then we'll come back, get into the other segments. I want to kind of go through our rapid fire parent teacher corner in these last few minutes. And then we'll close this thing out with some words of encouragement for you as we get ready to move forward. All right, y'all. We'll be right back.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, welcome back, y'all. What we're about to do is let's talk about developing love for reading. Parent Teacher Corner coming up. All right, so this week's the topic of the Parent Teacher Corner is fostering your child's love for reading. And so what we want to do is kind of get into that because reading is a superpower, as we know. That can unlock worlds of knowledge. I'm just gonna start. Butterflies in the sky. What's that next line, man? Tell me you know.
You got me.
Oh, come on, man. Read Rainbow. You can go twice as high, man. Come on.
Got me on that one.
Man, look, man, reading Rainbow. Let they say, take a look is in a book. So as we know, reading can foster a world of knowledge, creativity, and imagination for your child. So what I want to do is share 5 valuable tips to help parents ignite their passion for reading in the little ones. Because remember what we say, elementary, 30 minutes a day, people. Make sure. So this will help you kind of set up some foundational tips for them. First thing we want to do to foster the child's love for reading is set a reading time. Remember what we said, 30 minutes a day. Dedicate a daily reading time for your child, whether it's before bed or during the afternoon, on the weekends. The consistency helps the habit of reading. Next is, if you're going to tell me I got to read, give me something good to read, right? So create that home library. A lot of the times, a lot of the schools now, we built like the bird houses, the free library, things right there on the corner. So go get you some free books. Some people still go to the library. I seen a library card a few weeks ago, so I know it's still alive around here. People still do this. Again, third, be a reading role model. So children often mimic the behavior of adults. Let your child see your reading regularly, whether it's novels, magazines, or newspapers. Next, engage in a book discussion. So after your child finished the book, let's find out how much they comprehend. Engage in discussion about the story, the characters, and their opinions. This helps develop that comprehension skill and a deeper appreciation for the literature. And last but not least, visit libraries and bookstores. So take your child on trips to the local library, to the bookstore. Make them exciting adventures where y'all can explore new reading material. Begin to inspire that experience, because we want to make sure that kids are from zero to death, print rich, learning continuously. So those are 5 quick steps to foster your child's love with reading. Any input you got on that, Mr. Ahmed?
Real quick. So years ago, growing up in Philadelphia, my father showed me something. He said, I'm going to show you something. My father was an avid reader. He had literally tens of thousands of books when he died, rooms filled with books. So I grew up with a passion of books. He said, I want to show you something. He said, I'm going to take this $100 bill, and I'm going to put it inside this book. He took the book outside, put it on the porch. He said, I'm going to take these 2 Nike boxes, and I'm going to put rocks in these Nike boxes. He said, we're going to go around the corner, and we come back, we're going to eat. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have lunch. We're going to sit out all day. And when we came back, both of those Nike boxes were gone, but the book was still there. And inside that book was that $100 bill. And my father always told me, he said, if you want to hide something from some people, put it in a book. Because people don't want to read. They don't see the value in books. Those books now that my father has, people are trying to get them because they don't print that stuff anymore. He has books from J.A. Rogers, Sex and Race, talking about the advent of mankind, and Ivan Van Sertima, people who came to America, they came before Columbus. People don't get that. They don't teach that in schools. So books also are dangerous. If you look at what the people did in Germany, what's the first thing they did? They burned the books. They burned the books because that's where the knowledge is. So if you want to impact the lives of children, get those books. My little 7-year-old is Fly Guy crazy. And I didn't know about Fly Guy until he said, Fly Guy, I want to read about Fly Guy. Now, every time I come home, you ask me how my day was, he's sitting at the door waiting for us to read Fly Guy to me. And we
Fly Guy, the yellow shirt on.
And just doing it, man. So reading is definitely something that we need to instill upon all of our students. Right now, there's nothing like reading a book. I can't do Kindle. I don't like reading the phone. Give me a book any day, night, and I'm with the book now that I got my glasses, because I couldn't see before. I'm good now.
Hey, with the tailored glasses. Come on, man.
Tailored glasses.
All right. Well, there we go, man. That will wrap it up. Please remember 30 minutes a day. Please share these tips. I look forward to sharing these clips so that we can get those tips out, because remember what we said in 3rd grade. I say this all the time. This is one of the clips from KPRC. By 3rd grade, if we're not reading on grade level, they're projecting our lives to be a totally different way. And so how do we change that narrative? 0 to 2nd grade, we're giving it all we got. 1st grade being the most critical. That's making sure that we are getting in, but it starts 0, right? I need you reading before that baby even come out the womb. We got to get back on this reading, get back on these books. Literacy is key, and that comes from a certified English teacher. All right, man, what we'll do, let's take us another quick break, and then we'll jump into this rapid fire. I hope you're ready, Mr. Ahmed.
Whatever that means, I'm ready.
Rapid fire is on.
Go hard, or go home, go home, go hard, go hard, or go home.
All right, now
don't shoot.
I try to go fast in this, but every time I ask these questions, I always get some kind of answer that hems me up. So we never can get through them fast, but we're gonna try today. So 10 questions. Don't think about it. Just give me your response. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Be faithful, be honest, be respectful, love yourself, love others, treat people the way you want others to be treated, treat people the way you would want someone to treat your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, and the world is yours.
Ooh. Morning person or night owl?
I'm a morning person. 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. That's when I do all my thinking. I get up, I walk around, I move around, drink a cup of water before I start moving around. As you get older, you move a little slower. The joints cracking. So I'm a morning person. I go to bed at I'm past my bedtime right now, as a matter of fact.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Hey, favorite book you recommend to everyone?
Favorite book that I've ever read, it would have to be Ivan Van Sertima. They Came Before Columbus.
That's deep. Last week, I think it was The Alchemist. And we have some good ones on here, man. Most definitely. We got to come back and talk about that. Coffee or tea?
Tea with honey.
If you could have, okay, talk to me.
With
honey.
honey.
You say with honey. Come on, don't play no game, man. But sugar, honey, iced tea, baby. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Wow. It would have to be, man, that's a lot of people I would want to sit with. Nelson Mandela.
Nelson, ooh.
It would be Nelson Mandela, because I want to know what it takes to sit and fester for 27 years.
Yeah.
Still come out and treat people fair. Treat people with courtesy after they've done everything they've done to you, and still run a country and say, despite what you have done to me, we're going to have rights for everyone. That's who I want to spend time with.
Come on, man. Beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Mountain retreat, but I want to drive up. I want to go to the top. I want to sit in the snow. I want to look out, because in the mountains, it reminds me of how great our Creator is, who built this, who pushed these rocks up out of the ground 30,000 feet and put them there. Mountain vacation.
For the last, what I can't even say, since 2017, every year, man, I go to Denver, Colorado, drive up to the top, sit there for a few hours. It's to the point now, I don't even need GPS. I just know my way around the city, man. But each year, I'm in the mountains, man, just doing that same thing. I know last year I went solo and just, man, it was breathtaking. That was my first time being alone.
If you get a chance, go to Glenwood Hot Springs.
Okay.
The largest hot springs in the world in Colorado.
Yeah.
It would change your world. In the middle of the winter, ice on my head, man. Ice was so on my head. It was 2 degrees outside, but the water is 98 degrees all the time.
Yeah. I'm just gonna drive down to Estes at the national park during the summertime. Remember I said this every summertime.
Okay.
I can't. Yeah, I can't do. I'm an asthmatic. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that's gonna work. Your go-to inspirational quote:
"Love many, trust few. Always paddle your own canoe."
Heard the quote before. Never heard the always paddle your own canoe part. Got me today. Yeah, I'm guilty. All right. One thing on your bucket list:
drive the Pan American Expressway from Alaska to Argentina.
Ooh, they got a speed limit?
Yeah, I mean, it is. But the thing is, I'm going to take my children on this voyage with me, and I want them to see the world. A long time ago, I used to play with my children. I would joke with them. We do a lot of road trips and have a bus, and we get in this bus and we just travel the country. And I said, well, once we finish traveling the country, we're going to get a sailboat and we're going to go see the world. And we're going to learn to sail together to get out there. The best education you can give any child is to expose them to different cultures, different climates, different ways to do things, showing them that, because once we get on the road, we're going to break down how to have composure, how to fix things, how to problem solve, and come on back to school and apply all of that in real world life. So that was my bucket list. Argentina, get to Argentina, sailboat, sail around the world with my kids.
Most definitely, man. Woo. I think
hold up. And my wife. I forgot. I can't get her.
Hey, look. You gotta get hurt, man. You got
no.
Man. All right, y'all. That was it for our questions. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back to our teacher, outstanding educator spotlight of the week. Then we'll begin the land this plane. So y'all, we'll be right back.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, outstanding educator coming up. I'm telling you, man, every time I see that young lady with the balls, I'm like, man, I just remember her from kindergarten. I'm telling you, she looked so innocent when she was clapping, but we know. All right, y'all, this week, and this one is going back home, Shreveport, Louisiana, representing. Shout out to our outstanding educator, Dr. Adrian Moore, Jarvis Christian Institution. She is the lead assistant professor. And so the reason why I am celebrating her is her work as an instructor and the philanthropy. I believe that she believes in education. And so each year, our high school, Booker T. Washington in Shreveport, Louisiana, she gives a scholarship each year to them. So big shouts out to her. I thank her for never giving up despite any adversity she's been faced with. She, grew up with us. I said Dr. Adrian Moore, Sticky Nicky, but being able to come from our high school, Shreveport, Louisiana, we had 250,000, 300,000. At this point, one of the highest murder rates in the state of Louisiana for our city. Coming from nothing, man. Thinking about Booker T. We point blank, we went to Booker T. Washington, man. When there's a Booker T. Washington and a Martin Luther King in the city, it's real. So Caddo Parish. And so to see where Dr. Moore is today, to see how we've grown, to see how we just had a few months ago, we went down and took a boat ride and just reconnected with a lot of our high school friends. And it was so awesome, but everybody is doing good. And so I wanted to kind of highlight Dr. Moore tonight as one of our standing educators. Tell her continue with the philanthropy, continue celebrating those young African-American boys and girls that come from Booker T. Washington each year by honoring them with a scholarship. And thank you for being a leader and the light that we need as we shape the face of education for others going forward. Anything you got to add to that, Mr. Hamid?
No, just that we all have good examples that are around us, and what we need to do as a professional group of people is place value on those things that we talk about. It's one thing to say we appreciate and we value these things, but it's another thing to applaud those and advertise those, demonstrate those things in every fiber, from the very top of our educational system. Right now, if you ask someone who came to America for the first time, never been here, they said, what do Americans value? Sports. They value professional athletes. How do you know they value that? Because that's where all our money goes. That's where all of our time goes. So what we've got to do in education is to hold these people up, celebrate them every chance we get. And I'm not talking about send somebody a keychain and say, hey, great job, we appreciate you. Got to be more than that. It has to come from the heart. It has got to come from the heart and show people that we appreciate them. And when you start showing that, you get more of that.
Here we go. Say my college sweetheart was from Jack. Oh, Tariq Robinson. To come on here talking about no Jack. Man, we about to shut this whole show down. It's over, Mr. Hamid. We don't want to do no interest. I'm just going to push X, close out the whole thing. Come on, boss lady, man. Come on, talk about that Jack Quarters, man. All right, look. Yeah, lots of gang violence, though. Just thinking about that place. I remember going to, and this is why I was shouting out Nikki so much. I remember going to Mr. Hamid, a little spot. Remember I told you we're in a small town, man. If it wasn't for the Volunteers of America Lighthouse, I don't know where I would be coming in this small town, but just going somewhere and people standing outside, and because of the gang violence, they just shooting like right there at the club, people getting hit, all kind of things. But that's where we come. So big shouts out to making it out, and shouts out to Ms. Robinson for just taking me back there. Come on, Ms. Robinson. All right, Mr. Hamid, man, we are going to begin to land this plane. I just want to see, as we get ready to close out, thinking about our relationships, thinking about reviving servant leadership, building those bonds, anything that you have to give us as we get ready to close out.
We need to constantly remember we've got to be the change that we want to see, not just by word, but by actions. We got to walk that change. When you walk the change, people see it. They know who you are. They don't go by, titles, all of that kind of stuff. You asked me earlier what title is. Jesus didn't have no title. So when he walked the walk, whatever walk he walked, people follow because he walked the walk. And we got to do the same thing in education. What are we about? Where are we putting our money? Where are we putting our resources? And what is the most important thing to us? Every chart you look at, when it comes to organizational charts, I believe the children should be at the top. Once we place the children at the top of that organizational chart, and we remember that is who we serve, we change the world. Because we all serve children and the families and the communities in which we reside in and which we work in.
Mic drop. That's a wrap for us, man. Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Be the change we want to see. Servant leadership, serve others. Customer service is number one. I think that's why I'm thriving so good. My undergrad jobs was all at check cashing places and customer service and Walmart. So I think that's the biggest piece of it. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Just being able to identify with that. So great information for us tonight. I look forward to sharing this out. Ms. Robinson gave us the hand claps. Thank you so much, Director. Man, and like I say, I'm ready for part 2 already, man. So I will see you soon. All right.
That sounds good. Good night, everyone.
All right, y'all. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KT